Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with Stargirl Season 3, Episode 3 called The Blackmail. Guys, we have a lot to talk about, especially because me and my sister were pretty much theorizing on what could happen in this episode, and also talking about last week's previous episode. And, my sister made a good point about the whole Cindy thing, about Cindy taking, the gambler's laptop. And that's why she kind of thinks that Cindy is the prime suspect of me. She's the one that probably killed the gambler. But after this episode, this makes me feel like I don't think that's the case. I thought it was a possibility. But even then, I was even against my sister's theory about Cindy being the main suspect on the fact of me putting down, she has actually, reasonable in a way, it doesn't look shady type things going on right now. The fact of she explained that, since it wasn't a gunshot that killed the gambler, it was actually a shiv. It was actually kind of like a stab wound. That was going for the only thing really going for her was the fact that it was a stab wound. But even then, I was I don't think it was her. She was not strong enough, like Courtney said, to be tearing open the gambler's, trailer. I really didn't think she was strong enough, and Courtney made a good point. And I was yeah, I even told my sister, she's not strong enough to do that. And even then, yeah, there's a stab wound, but multiple other people could have done that. Also, the fact of it is that also Cindy, yeah, she took the gambler's laptop. I even said it in my pre-show live stream that I had an hour before the show started, saying that I think that Cindy took the laptop because she wanted to show the team that she could be an asset to the team and pretty much show Rick and Yolanda that she could help out and she could figure out who the hell killed the gambler. I was that's probably why she took that. On top, I was I was also theorizing, saying, there's a reason that, she was messing with all those, different samples of elixirs and stuff. She clearly is trying to figure out stuff from her father. And I was thinking, her arm was hurting and she was trying to figure out different elixirs. I'm wondering maybe she needs that to survive because she kind of was an experiment essentially from her father. So I was kind of thinking, okay, is there a chance maybe she needs this stuff to survive? Maybe she needs this after every fight so she can, kind of regenerate or something. So I was maybe she's trying to use the computer, maybe trying to find some information on that. And that's exactly what happened in this episode. She actually did both of the things I was actually, theorizing. She took the laptop because she wanted to help out the team. Essentially, when she did it when she had the laptop and sent it to Beth and Rick, when Rick and Beth were driving to the school, because, in the opening sequence, we have, of course, Sylvester. We open up with Sylvester. He is pretty much, driving in the Blue Valley, right? Where he's driving, I guess, into town, the Blue Valley. He's pretty much trying to find his way in this episode. He's trying to find out who can I be when I'm not being Starman, because I can't just be Starman all the time, because clearly there's no, villains right now to fight. I need to actually balance. I need to have a balance. And, of course, it's funny because at first Courtney and Sylvester would kind of, get along right now in the fact of, we just want to be Starman and Stargirl. That's all we want to do all the time. But if it wasn't for Pat trying to teach Courtney, look, you need balance, it's kind of the fact of Courtney would just be running around wanting to be Stargirl all the time and pretty much probably dropping out of school like she was kind of trying to do back in, season 2. All she wanted to do was just do Stargirl stuff. She didn't want to do school. Hence the whole summer school thing, because she kind of just jumped into being Stargirl in season 1. Hence why she had to go to summer school, because, she was kind of leaving class and doing Stargirl things. So it's kind of nice that, Courtney is learning so much from Pat on how you need to find balance, because that's the one thing Sylvester never had. He never had balance back in the day. He always was Starman. He was never Sylvester Pendleton. He was always just Starman. So it's nice that the fact of she's learning so much from Pat, and and Courtney has now learned how to have balance. And I was trying to teach Sylvester, you need to be Sylvester Pendleton right now. You don't always need to be Starman. You need to find a balance. So I really love the key of this episode is finding balance, but also the whole blackmail aspect of this murder mystery. And we'll get into that in a minute. But, I love when he goes into the diner, and this is, of course, the main diner that Shade was in episode, I think, episode 1 and 2 of Stargirl, of this new season. And I really did love how, he was talking. I forget what the waitress's name is, but, he ordered a cup of tea, and he's like, wow, this is the best cup of tea I've ever had. And she's like, yeah, it's the best in America, so I've been told, or best in the USA, so I've been told. And that's of course of, Shade making her, making her try, make different cups of tea, trying to get it perfect. So if it wasn't for Shade, forcing her, trying to up the ante of making the best tea, it wouldn't be the best tea. You know what I mean? So she's kind of taken, what Shade said and taking it to heart, saying, wow, this is the best cup of tea, as he said. So I really do love that she's kind of owned the fact that she's able to make the best cup of tea now because of Shade pretty much, challenging her each and every time to make the best cup of tea. But my favorite part, right, has to be is when Yolanda is talking to Sylvester, and pretty much Yolanda's trying to tell Sylvester so tell me about Ted Grant. Would he have liked me and stuff like that? And he's like, yeah, he would have thought you were a badass and stuff. And you can, he was stubborn and so are you. But that's what's good is, you see, you're not afraid to look at people the way they are and stuff, because you have your guard up and stuff. Pretty much he's kind of complimenting the fact of that, she was the rightful heir to be Wildcat. You know what I mean? Ted Grant would be proud that, you're kind of like him. Yeah, he was stubborn, but he was stubborn to the people that, he just saw how people were, and he wasn't afraid to tell people how it is when they did stuff that was bad. So it's kind of her, that kind of made Yolanda feel good. If the man himself, Sylvester, that knew and, was partners, that worked with Ted Grant as Wildcat, and he's telling me that Ted Grant would like me, and, and we kind of have a lot in common, that kind of, boosted her ego up a little bit, thinking, I am the right person, you know what I mean? I shouldn't feel bad that I'm being harsh on Cindy for all the crap she's done, even though, she might be trying to be good, but I'm gonna have my guard down. And that's exactly how Ted Grant was. He never had his guard down, and he was stubborn with people when people did stuff that was bad, you know what I mean? He had his guard up and stuff for the people he cared about. So I really do like that, kind of Yolanda is getting back into her skin, you know what I mean? She's kind of, getting back into being Wildcat, and, and her confidence is building back up about, of what how she was acting last season, and how she felt guilty, and, she was kind of struggling with the fact that she killed Brainwave. So I really do like how she's making a bounce back this season, and she's kind of not feeling bad the fact that she's being so hard on Cindy, unlike, Courtney and, Beth are kind of being hard on Yolanda and Rick for being so hard on Cindy, and, you know what I mean, pretty much not putting their guard down, how, Courtney and Beth are with Cindy, and everybody else is kind of they're still keeping their guards up because they see them for, for what their perspective is as how these villains truly are, is that they're villains and they can't change, essentially. So I do kind of like how it's kind of in a way, I do like how we have somebody that's thinking the old way, because it's going to be so much better when, Sylvester is going to learn from Courtney, because how you learn from Courtney to have a balance, but also learn from Courtney that people can change, because that information is going to transfer over to Sylvester, and Sylvester is going to be teaching Rick and Yolanda that people can change, and hell, your friend taught me that, Courtney taught me that, you should really listen to her. And I think that's when, of course, Rick and Yolanda will finally kind of accept Cindy into the JSA, because they still have their guard up and they're still being very harsh with Cindy pretty much, as we speak in episode 3. But, I really do like the fact of it's very interesting to me how, I was saying that, about Cindy taking the computer, and she probably wanted to, trying to, impress the JSA and pretty much trying to give them information, try to catch the killer and stuff like that. And that's as far as what it seems. But I mean, these writers are very tricky. So, it makes it look like, yeah, she, sent those files from the gambler's computer to Beth, but it's kind of Beth didn't know they were from Cindy, and still, the whole, Courtney, Yolanda, Rick, Beth all still don't know that, Cindy has the gambler's computer. They're still trying to look for it. Right now, she's kind of lying to them on the fact of, they're keeping secrets from her. They're doing meetings without her. She's a prime suspect, of course, how Sylvester said. But it's kind of the fact of, she's kind of has her own secret. She's if they won't accept me and they're kind of keeping me out of their group meetings, I'm going to figure out who killed the gambler, and I'm going to figure out more about my father's, science experiments, because clearly there's something involved with Cindy that she needs the gambler's passcode to get into the Dragon King files, which is her father, trying to figure out more about probably, maybe her powers, or maybe she's sick or something. I'm not quite sure, but she clearly wants to get into the gambler's files, because they're the Dragon King files of her father, and maybe of his science experiments that are somewhat important to her. We don't know what yet, but I feel like that's one of the other reasons why she took the computer. But mainly, I thought because she wanted to show the team that she could be an asset, and that she really is trying to help out the team. And she thought, if anything, this will prove to the team that I am an asset, and I am really trying to change. Because they already think that she's the one, a suspect that killed the gambler. So she wants to prove to them, no, I'm not, and I'm actually trying to help out. But I just thought it was weird that she sent it to Beth without telling Beth or the team that she had the computer. But she doesn't want. I feel like she doesn't want them taking the computer away, because she's trying to get into the Dragon King files, probably because something is wrong with her. I'm not quite sure. So it's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. And I'm wondering if she'll ever ask Beth to help her open the Dragon King files, because as we all know, the goggles are capable to hack into things. I do think they have a chance to hack into that file to help Cindy out with whatever she needs. So I'm hoping Cindy really shows the group that she's going to come forward, that she had the computer, and she's going to come forward at the fact of this is what's wrong. I need help getting into these files. Please help me. I feel like maybe if she's open with the team more, they'll accept her more. But I mean, I understand why she's not, because they kind of already see her as a villain. And, she probably thinks, they're clearly against me. They're clearly not inviting me into their meetings. I need to show them that I can be an asset, and I'm really trying to help. So if they're not going to invite me and think that I'm trying to change, I'm just going to do it on my own and show them that I am trying to help out on my own terms. And you know what I mean? Because they clearly won't let me show them by them inviting me into their meetings, and inviting me into their kind of into their day-to-day conversations and stuff. So I kind of like how Cindy's kind of taking it on her own, and she's still trying to prove to them on her own, because she can't prove to them in the group because they won't let her approve it. So she's going to do it on her own terms. So I do love the drive that Cindy has, trying to prove to Yolanda and Rick that she can be a help and an asset. I just thought it was a weird way but she did it, but it made sense because she doesn't want them taking the computer, because she's trying to get into the files. But I eventually think she will ask Beth to help her. So I do love what's going on here. And it kind of it goes to the mystery of, is she still the one that did it, because she has the computer and she's sending them sent them the information that the gambler was pretty much blackmailing the Crocs. And that's pretty much the tone of this episode. That's why it's called the Blackmail, is because the gambler, before he died, way before, when he was on the run and stuff, was blackmailing the Crocs. But we ended up finding out is that from Paula and also and Crusher, that he actually paid every cent back, you know what I mean, before he died. So it really showed that he was a changed man when he came back to Blue Valley, and he actually wanted to change, and he actually wanted to find his daughter. So that really even makes it even sadder, is that he paid them every cent back, and he was actually trying to help. But it was very weird that, I don't know if Cindy knew that, but the fact that Cindy was sending the information to the team, pretty much trying to frame the Crocs for, pretty much the fact of the gambler blackmailing the Crocs, pretty much telling the team that, okay, that the Crocs did it because the gambler was blackmailing them, is kind of again, she said she just wanted to prove to them that, they were the ones that did it, because as of right now, Rick, Yolanda, are pretty much, and Cindy are all on the same page where they think the Crocs did it, because they think it's not a situation, it's not a coincidence that the gambler came back, his goons were trying to rob somebody, you know what I mean, and everything started going to shit pretty much when he came back to Blue Valley, and everybody showed that they're trying to reform, except the gambler. So it took them a minute to try to see if the gambler was actually trying to reform, but it was a really good way to get everybody to be a suspect, on the fact of everybody was against, even the gambler's other Injustice Society members hated the gambler. So it's a good way to get everybody to have a reason to take out the gambler when he died. So it was very smart on the writers' behalf to make it be even all the other members didn't like the gambler. and he dies right when he comes into Blue Valley, when he announces to Courtney and Pat that he's trying to change, and that's why he's here, even though these other Injustice Society members think that he really has something else up his sleeve and can ruin it for everybody else on how they're trying to reform. So I do love how it's like, we saw Crusher trying to, confront, Gambler about, the whole blackmailing, but he ended up leaving. But then we get the end of last week's episode where he's like, they're gonna find out sooner. They're gonna find out sooner or later. And of course, Paula's like, yeah, I know. And we kind of go into this episode like, oh my God, did Crusher go back to get Paula, and then they took out the Gambler? What's with Cindy having the computer and her trying to, mess with all these elixirs and stuff, and her arm was hurt. So what's going on? It's like we're looking at all these other people thinking, who did it? And then with Shade going to meet up with the Gambler in last week's episode or whatever, or the first episode, but we didn't see it until the next episode. But, he met up with him earlier, and he was kind of a suspect when we thought he met up with him earlier. He might have came back to take him out, but he didn't. So it's kind of like, we have so many different theories, but it's like I said, I don't think Cindy's the one that did it. I just, I just don't think she's the one that did it. Same as how I don't think, of course, the Crocs did it either, because Gambler paid him back every cent, and they said that we didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I of course was like, I wanted to take him out, but I didn't. I left because it would have undid all the progress that we did. So it's kind of like in this episode, Cindy really tried, telling the team, because she wanted to show the team that, I'm helping out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it must be the Crocs that took out the Gambler. Let's go get him, because right away, Rick wants to just go right in there, like just go attack them. And of course, Courtney's like, we can't just do that. And you know what I mean? Like, and they're all right now, I think they're like, let's tell Sylvester. And they're like, no, we can't tell Sylvester. That's what Courtney said. And then because Beth's like, yeah, because if we tell Sylvester, we'll go in there like Courtney does. And Courtney's like, yeah, like pretty much, because that's how Courtney was. She would just go right into things like Sylvester would. That's why she doesn't want to tell Sylvester, because he's kind of like trying to find his own, trying to find balance, and he already thinks of them as villains. So she's like telling the team, don't tell Sylvester. We're gonna have a meeting with him, and we're gonna tell it to him, so that way he doesn't just react and do something he'll regret. She knows how he'll just jump into things like she used to, but she's learned so much on how to like find balance and actually try to find good within people, and she's giving the Crocs a chance. And also she's telling the team, look, I want to make sure that if it actually is the Crocs, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? We could do it in the right way. But if we just go at the Crocs, I don't want to take Artemis's parents again if we don't need to. You know what I mean? I don't want to do anything wrong if they didn't do anything wrong. So like, let's go we'll talk to Sylvester at some point. But let's just not tell him, because we'll jump right into things, and then he might do something we'll regret, or like he'll regret, or we might do something we'll regret if we take Artemis's parents away if they didn't do anything wrong. She's really trying to give the Crocs a chance to show that they are good. She really believes that they are good, and they are trying to reform. So pretty much right now they're kind of off the table. They kind of like, she thinks that they didn't do it. She thinks that Cindy didn't do it. She's really trying to find out, okay, because she knows that the Crocs aren't strong enough to do what they did to the trailer. She knows that Cindy's not strong enough to do what they did to the trailer. Courtney's looking at the bigger picture. Right now, Courtney is probably the smartest one, and also Pat out of the group right now, that are really trying to look at the bigger picture, that no one's strong enough to rip open that trailer. No one. And also, like, and mind you, I have right now my other suspect right now is Cameron. I do think that Cameron, him being out of control, him having these anger bursts and stuff, I feel like that might have something to do with his cold powers kicking in. So I'm a little worried about that, and I said that in my last week's pre-show review, and also my spoiler review, pre-show live stream, and also my spoiler review for last week's episode. I said there is something going on with Cameron. I'm not sure that since his powers are manifesting, he's not able to control them. Maybe anger has something to do with it, like he doesn't have his anger under control. Maybe his powers make his anger, make him have these anger bursts and stuff. There's just something up with Cameron, and it makes me, I'm not surprised if somewhat maybe he could be in on what's going on, because we know his grandparents are probably brainwashing him, saying that, your father, kind of giving him his information of like, your father like had these powers, that's why they were passed down to you. He was a part of the Injustice Society, pretty much trying to make America, like he had this mission trying to make America the most perfect it can be, or whatever. I forget, like his weird, USA, his weird like mission that he had, that Jordan had. But I feel like, they probably told him about like the plan that Jordan had, and how like he had this group that failed him, and then maybe he's taking out the group, because initially Sylvester was my prime one suspect. Like he was the number one suspect for me until we got to the end of this episode, which I'm shocked that they did this at the end of this episode. I don't know if what happened means that we won't be seeing him again, or that means that maybe things are okay. I'm not quite sure. I can't wait to get to what I'm about to speak about at the end. What's going on with Sylvester? I can't wait to talk about it. But pretty much she knew because Courtney said don't tell Sylvester, and of course Cindy went behind the whole entire JSA's back, told Sylvester, look, we had a meeting, didn't you know that, or whatever? Because the gambler was blackmailing the Crocs. And didn't Courtney and the other JSA members tell you? Because sometimes they leave you out of things, or what I mean. Meaning pretty much trying to exclude him too, saying like, sometimes they don't tell us things or whatever. Sometimes they keep us out of the loop, meaning she was trying to relate with Sylvester, saying sometimes they keep me out of it too, keep me out of the loop. But this time they didn't. But how about me and you prove to them that we can take out the bad guy? So why don't we go have a word with the Crocs, and we can deal with them. And of course, he's like, that sounds terrible. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't trust I didn't trust the gambler. I didn't trust Shade. I don't trust the Crocs. I don't trust Artemis. I sure as shit don't trust you even more, the spawn of the Dragon King. And he said something rude to said something rude to Sydney before he shut the door on her. So that was really messed up when he said, be careful with your high heels or whatever, because you tend to trip or whatever over the curb or something. He said some messed up shit. I was like, damn, he was really tough with Sydney, a lot. So I'm excited to see where he wasn't buying it. He's like, I'm not just your normal Blue Valley I'm not your normal Blue Valley person you can just trick. You can't trick me easily. And that was very funny. He's like, you can't trick me. Even I don't think that's really what she was trying to do, but I think that she knew that he would have been hot-headed enough to go take them out, even though that's not what Courtney would have wanted. And that's a bad way to get on Courtney's bad side for a person that's really trying to show the team that she can help out. Going behind the team wasn't the best idea, because we get this big fight sequence that was at the store. I forget the name of the store. But this grocery store fight sequence, it has to be hands down one of the best fight sequences we've seen on Stargirl. It's like these fight choreographers just keep getting better and better, and keep building up the stakes with these fight sequences. And that fight sequence was badass. The way he was Sylvester was moving, and the way that you really felt bad for the Crocs in this moment, feeling how you felt bad because they were just here shopping. And I love when before Sylvester comes in there, we have Paula, talking to her husband, saying put it back or whatever, because he was trying to steal beer and stuff. And he's like, oh, it's a force of habit and all that stuff. And she's like, oh, that's the acid alone or whatever. It was maybe it wasn't a beer. I think it was just hot sauce. And she's like, the acid, the acidic acid alone, is bad for you. And he's like, some people, you have to have cheat meals occasionally. Everybody deserves a cheat meal. And you know what I mean? It's like you see how they're really trying to adjust, and it's really hard for them, but they're really trying. And now Sylvester just coming here thinking that they are just bad, when that's not the case anymore. And actually, they're really trying to grow. And you see that he's kicking their ass. He's really kicking their ass, and he's really taking that anger, of them killing his family. You really see that in this fight. He is kicking their ass. He was doing stuff with the staff I haven't even seen Courtney be able to do. The staff, the way it was just moving around, and I'm shocked Cosmo was in okay with this. How he was really trying to hurt them, even though Sylvester didn't really know the full story of really what was going on. You know what I mean? He just went in all hot-headedness, like Courtney said. And, I'm excited to see how Sylvester will grow from that, and he won't just be that hot-headed person that just wants to be Starman all the time. He will find balance. He will find out that people actually can grow and change, and people aren't just villains from the jump. You know what I mean? People can change. If you become a villain, you can unbecome a villain, that you can change. And I'm excited to see that he'll see from them that actually see progress, that they actually are trying to change. He hasn't seen it yet, but you have to understand that, it's kind of you could go against what Sylvester is doing, but you need to understand from his perspective, they killed his family. From his perspective, he hasn't seen them grow to what Pat and Barb and and Courtney and Mike have seen. He hasn't seen that. Of course, Rick and Yolanda have, because they were there when they were helping out with Eclipso, but they still don't buy it. They still have their guard up. And you know what I mean? And that's why I feel that's why Sylvester and Yolanda were getting along so much because they're on the same page of like having their guards up, and they don't trust Cindy. They don't trust Artemis. They don't trust, Sportsmaster and Tigress. They don't trust the Gambler. They don't trust Shade. They still have their guards up, and that's why he was having such a good conversation with Yolanda, and that's why Yolanda was having such a good conversation with him, is because they're on the same page. It's kind of like that's why they're looking towards Sylvester as kind of like their leader, and they're kind of not listening to Courtney. And that's why I'm excited to see when Sylvester starts to learn and listen from Courtney that they actually are trying to change. Rick and Yolanda will fall in line, because if she can show Sylvester that they can change, somebody that actually went up against these villains back in the day, and these villains that killed his family, that will prove to them, oh my God, Courtney is right. What are we doing? I'm excited to see that. I think that's going to be very interesting. But that fight when, the Cosmo was just like okay with him kicking their ass like that. But mind you, Cosmo was there back then. He saw that, but also Cosmo was there when they all helped with Eclipso to take down Eclipso. It's kind of like Cosmo's on the flip. Cosmo agrees with what Sylvester is doing, but kind of agrees with how Courtney thinks too. So I like how there's like two sides of the coin, and Cosmo has been on both sides of the war of, with the Injustice Society. So I'm just loving how he's kind of like, Cosmo's going with the flow. You know what I mean? Because he's seen both sides of the coin, but he's not gonna go and listen to Sylvester because that was his original owner. So I just love the moment when like the staff was just floating right next to him, about to do the final blow, and then Pat comes in, of course, with the stripe armor and says, back away, Sylvester, or whatever, or back up, Sylvester, or put your staff away, Sylvester. He said something, but he was pissed, Sylvester, when Pat went downstairs to talk to Sylvester after that big fight sequence, about when he was about to literally kill the Crocs right there, saying that you don't do that or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be you have to be an example for Courtney. She looks up to you or whatever. You have to show her, you have to be a good role model for Courtney. She looks up to you. She thought that you were her father. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And I kind of wish that she did think that way, because her father was just somebody that didn't want her, and came back just to get a necklace, and then wanted to leave. You know what I mean? You have to we are her father figures. She looks up to you, and you need to show her that people can change. You need to show her that there's a right way to do things, and you can't just be so hot-headed. You know what I mean? You need to show her that you need to find balance when you are a hero, and you need to find that. She actually, you know what I mean? Like, you need to just be a good role model. Same as how like she's giving you advice, trying to find balance. You need to show her that there's a right way to you know what I mean? Like, because she looks up to you. You know what I mean? So I love how, like, he's kind of, like, also a father figure to Courtney, same as how Pat is. And it makes sense because, Sylvester was always kind of, like, a father figure to Courtney. Like, Courtney looked up to Sylvester because Courtney thought Sylvester was her father, and kind of held Starman up on a pedestal. And, and Sylvester and Pat wants Courtney to still look at him that way, on the fact of like, oh, she looks up to you, she looks up to me. We have to set a prime example of, what's right and what's wrong. And you need to show her that people can change and stuff like that. And you need to get with the program, because you can't show her that, because she looks up to you, you can't show her that what you're doing is okay. So I really do love that. Like, he's kind of understanding, like, I am a father figure. I kind of, in a way, have a daughter. You know what I mean? Because, the one thing I really felt bad about Sylvester is that he didn't have a wife. He didn't have kids, because all he had was just being Starman. And it's kind of like he has a kid now. He has a purpose now. He's a role model now. He has to show not even just Courtney, be a role model for Courtney, but be a role model for the new JSA, for Rick, Yolanda. And he's kind of not doing that when he kind of like told Yolanda, like, oh yeah, it's okay that, you don't trust Cindy, and you don't trust all the other Injustice Society members. You need to show them that, you should trust, like, he should have said, no, you should trust Courtney. If she thinks this, you should follow her. You know what I mean? Because she's a good leader. That's what Sylvester should have said. I do think that he will eventually get to the level where he will start to tell Yolanda and Rick that, Courtney's right. You know what I mean? They can change. I have full faith in her. And I feel like they'll get in line, because they're so resistant right now to realize that realize that, all these Injustice Society members, the ones that are still alive, are really trying to change, and you need to give them a chance, like Courtney is. And I'm excited to see that go as we go more forward in the season. I'm just really like, I even said that it doesn't surprise me that he's yelling at Pat, because he still thinks of Pat as his sidekick, even though that's not how it is anymore. He's like, I'm not your, there is no sidekick. I'm not your sidekick anymore. I'm your friend, Sylvester. You know what I mean? I don't need to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was loving how, like, Pat was laying down the ground rules. Like, I'm not your sidekick anymore. This is the real world now. Like, this is present day. I'm not your sidekick anymore. And, you know, you don't know Blue Valley. You don't know the Sportsmaster and Tigress the way you used to know them. You know what I mean? You need to get with the program and see that, you know, people can change. And see that, you know, yeah, back in the day you just were Starman, but you were even regretting the fact that you didn't have kids and you didn't have a wife. You should make the best of this life now and find balance. Have a family, have a wife, have a kid. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have a second chance now, and I'm excited to see that Sylvester's kind of going to realize that, oh, I have a second chance. I should get a job. I should balance out my life. I can't be Starman all the time. But it was really nice, you know, when, you know, Sylvester was saying to Pat, like, I don't even have my suit anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know I need to be a role model, but, like, I don't even have my suit anymore to be Starman and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to find a job. I don't know how to do any of this. And I'm excited to see him do that, or I was excited to see him do that, because, you know, towards the end of this episode, we have, of course, Cindy trying to get into the gambler's files, of course, of the Dragon King still, and she still can't break in. And, you know, I feel bad for Cindy because, you know, something is important about those files. And I really do feel bad for her. Something that's really bad. And I'm wondering if, like, something is wrong with her. That's why she's really trying to get into those files. But she knows that she can't even ask the team because they don't trust her. And, you know what I mean? She's kind of on her own. I do feel bad. But also the fact of, you know, I really feel bad for the fact because while Mike comes in and sees Pat making Sylvester a new costume, because as we all know, the reason he doesn't have his costume anymore is because Courtney ripped up Sylvester's costume to make her a Stargirl costume. So I find that funny is that, Pat didn't say, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, Courtney's the one that ripped up your costume and made her a costume. Like, or maybe already Sylvester knows that's what Courtney did because all the elements are from his costume. It's just tweaked to her. So it was just really nice to see Pat. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, I'm gonna say this is a kind of like I'm sorry gift, but also like this is a way for you to find balance. You have your costume for when you need to do things, so you don't get your identities mixed up of you just being Starman all the time. You're gonna have a costume so you can just be Starman when you need to be Starman and Sylvester and have your normal life. Pretty much trying to like give it to make it definitive to him that here's your costume. This is when you're Starman. When you're not Starman, have a life, get a job, stuff like that. You know, you have a second chance. And I felt like that's what Pat was trying to do. And that was really nice to see. And then the moment where, Sylvester's like, maybe there's something at the crime scene we didn't see. He's like, okay, you know, he's like, and he like reaches his hand out to get the staff, but he realizes, oh crap, it's not my night. It's not my turn with the staff. I'm gonna go without you. Ends up grabbing a flashlight, ends up leaving, goes to the site, ends up getting picked up and dropped. And right away I'm thinking, oh my God, he's dead. Like, you just see him lying there dead. I think he actually is dead, Sylvester. And that's going to really bum me out because he just came back to life. He just got a second chance. He just was about to go and actually find a job, have a normal life when he's not being Starman. And I think he's dead. I hope to God they didn't just bring back Joel McHale just to kill him off like this, because this kind of pisses me off. I was really hoping to see him just have a life and maybe have a kid, and you know what I mean, like have a wife and a kid, and just and maybe just retire as Starman officially, you know what I mean, or maybe him balance it out with Courtney still. I don't know, but it's gonna bum me out if he's actually dead. I'm not quite sure if he is or isn't. I feel like if the gambler's dead, most likely Sylvester's now dead, because I can't imagine that creature, whatever, picked him up and dropped him, wanted him to survive. I think he's actually dead, which makes me really bummed. Especially it's going to really kill Pat, the fact of that he was making him a costume. He was just happy to have his friend back, and his friend's now dead again. It's really going to hurt Courtney too. I think this is even going to strive Courtney even more now to really keep her guard up probably. And maybe this is a chance for Rick and Yolanda to show Courtney that, you know, we were wrong, you know what I mean? Like maybe we are going too far and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm just excited to see where this is going to go. I'm really hoping Sylvester's not dead. But also we got to talk about Cameron and that Rick sequence, because that was awesome. How Rick said, like, when the teacher was telling Cameron, "Are you okay? You could skip out on your project or whatever. You know, I know people my colleagues are scared of me and all that, and that's why I'm not invited to any of invited to their lunch. I'm not invited to sit down and eat lunch with them and stuff like that. But I just wanted you to know that, I'm here or whatever. And he's like, oh, can you just shut up and stop talking to me and all that. And I love when Rick's like came in there and he says, hey, you don't talk to her like that and all that stuff, and just because you're a rich ass doesn't mean, you have to be rude to or doesn't think you just get to walk around here and just be rude to people. And I'm sorry. Rick makes a good point. I don't know what the hell is wrong. Like, I don't give a shit what's going on with Cameron. Your dad was a murderer. And the fact of if your grandparents told you that your dad was like murdering people, and you're still going along with it and you're still okay with that, you're a piece of shit. I'm excited because that fight sequence, when we get it, because I think Cameron's going to be Rick's new, villain. It's kind of like every Injustice Society member had a JSA member that they would fight, and I'm sorry, I think that fight sequence, because he said, next time you do that, I'm going to kick your ass. Are we cool? And then Cameron's like, yeah, we're cool. And meaning, because he has the cold powers. And that fight sequence is just going to be badass because they've been building this up ever since season 2, where, Rick was driving in the car, saw the Cameron making the mural of his father, Jordan. And pretty much, Cameron looks at him and says, oh, can I help you with anything? He's like, no, I don't need any help from you, or I don't want anything from you. And then he kind of just drives off, and then Cameron's like jerk or whatever. So it's kind of like it's been building up, and even him when Cindy asked him if he was okay or whatever in season 2, he kind of just said I'm sorry about your father. He's like, I don't need any apologies from you. I don't need any sorries from you or something like that. He's becoming a villain, and I don't know if it's just because of his powers kicking in the gear. I don't know. Maybe that's what did it to Jordan. I don't know. Is that his powers just made him turn into this evil person? I don't know, but. I'm just excited for that fight sequence because that's going to be badass when we get that fight sequence between Rick and Cameron. I can't wait for that because I'm going to be honest, I got my money on Rick. Rick is probably going to be like, I've been waiting for this ass, you know what I mean? I knew you were going to be like your father and all that stuff because that's essentially what Rick thinks most likely. Your father was a murderer and a crazy person. You're definitely on that path where you're rude to teachers even though they're asking you if you're okay. You're just a rich ass or whatever that you just think you can walk around here and be rude to people and all that when people are really just trying to help you. And it's like Cameron is just enraged by one, his father dying. 2, people aren't telling him the truth. Courtney keeps leaving him every time he's trying to get close to Courtney. He feels like he's alone and stuff like that, even though people are trying to help him. And it's like, it's going to be satisfying when Rick beats his ass. That's just as simple as that. I'm excited for that fight. That fight's going to be badass. The fight choreographers are going to go crazy in that, especially because they're building up the rivalry. They're building up the hate for one another. And I'm on Rick's side. How could you not? Cameron's being an asshole. I mean, I never liked that character, even from season 1. I always knew he was probably going to become a villain because his father was Jordan, the leader of the ISA. I knew right away that he was going to become a villain eventually. And I do think, especially because when Cindy joined the JSA, and even though she was trying to build up the Injustice Society again, but she actually turned doing that and wanted to become and Courtney and Pat and all them proved to the villains that they could be heroes too, and they could change. I have every bone in my body telling me that Cameron is going to build the new Injustice Society, and that group is going to be insane. I'm not sure. We don't have enough other members that would join the Injustice Society, even if Cameron did that. Even though Cindy tried to recruit Cameron, essentially, but he wasn't down for it. He just said, "Get the hell away from me. I don't need your pity," and all that stuff like that. So I think even Cindy's gonna realize that dude's bad. Dude, if I couldn't turn him, and you know what I mean, and I've changed, I don't think he's changing. You know what I mean? I tried being nice to him when I was trying to recruit him, even though I was trying to recruit him and it was me being fake nice probably. I think in that moment she realized that there's evil in that kid. And I'm excited to see, especially it's going to be interesting because in the season, Breck said that, Cameron and Courtney are going to get close this season. We get to see their relationship kind of start. And I'm sorry. I think when Courtney realizes that, 1, he has the powers of her father, and 2, when Rick tells, Courtney how he's been acting, and Courtney can see how he has these bursts of stuff, of this anger shit. I'm gonna be honest, I don't see this going very well, of Cameron wanting to be with somebody that was kind of responsible for the death of his father. Even though his father was a killer, he's not going to see it that way. He's going to be like, you took my only family away from me. You took my father away from me. How could I ever want to be with somebody like you and stuff like that? Especially because you're friends with all these other members that took out my father, like Rick. When he finds out Rick was a part of her group, even though he already is a part of the group and the friend group, and he's going to realize, I think he's going to realize, oh my God, her group, when he finds out that she is Stargirl, he's going to find out, oh my God, your friends are a part of the JSA that killed my father. I'm going to kill all you guys. And he's going to build up his team. I'm just excited. It's going to be badass. But I'm really curious to know what you guys thought about this episode. Are you guys excited for the next episode? Do you guys think Sylvester is dead? I'm really curious to know. It's going to really bum me out if they kill Joel McHale like that. I was really hoping he would have a bigger role this season. Not just to be like, not just to be like a role model and somebody that could help Courtney like learn more about Cosmo. But I also thought that he would just be a bigger role going forward in the series, like to be a series regular and just, help out. And we eventually get to see Sylvester, maybe, get a job, find a wife, have a kid, you know what I mean? And we just get to see that. But the fact of it's just going to be very unsatisfying if we were starting to see him build his life and he dies like that, as to be the next murder of this murder mystery, and to find out really who the killer is. But I mean, it really would motivate everybody to take things seriously if Starman got taken out. You know what I mean? And, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's just, I think that will motivate people. Maybe that's what the writers are trying to do. I don't know if he's dead. I'm really curious to know, again, do you guys think he's dead? I'm really curious to know, who do you guys think is the one killing people? I'm not quite sure, but I kind of thought I saw some snowdrop when Sylvester got picked up. I'm not quite sure. It could be Cameron, but then again, Cameron was at least I thought he was with Courtney at the time, but Cameron did say he had to leave. So who knows? I don't know. I mean, and I think we've seen Jordan fly before with his powers. So I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too far-fetched if maybe that's Cameron, because I mean, he's very unstable right now, and I don't know. But I'm really curious. But I'm thinking it must be Mr. Bones, because we know he's the main villain of the season. And we know that dude that was looking at the cameras had gloves on. And it kind of makes me think it could be Mr. Bones. I think there is really one villain this season. I'm thinking it is most likely Mr. Bones. That's been one of my theories, mainly my main theory, is that if it wasn't Sylvester, it probably was Mr. Bones, because he is the main villain. And I feel like you wouldn't just be jumping around to so many different villains when you have a main villain this season. But then again, you never know. They could have some side villains, and then we will get to our main villain as the season goes on. Because mind you, this is only episode 3. Who knows? He could be behind this the entire time, or maybe he comes in later. But I feel like he has to be the one behind this, most likely. Because I don't think it is Cameron. Even though I'm thinking, I'm not rooting him out of him not as a suspect. And it could be him for how unstable he is. So I think either it's him or Mr. Bones now. I don't think it is Sylvester, because he's dead. Again, at least I hope he's not. I'm really curious to know, like I said, down in the comments below, do you guys think he's dead? Do you guys not think he's dead? Who is your main suspect? Who you guys think is behind the murder of course, the gambler, and behind the murder of Sylvester, if you guys think he is dead? Also, yet again, here, if you are new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on notifications, like this video. I would love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. Again, we're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. Yet again, guys, we're almost to 600 subscribers. I'm really trying to get there, because I'm really trying to get this channel monetized and stuff. I'm really trying to make this one of the biggest channels on YouTube. So yet again, if you love Stargirl just as much as I do, again, subscribe to the channel, post notifications, and like this video. Also, again, I do pre-show live streams every Wednesday at 7 p.m., an hour before Stargirl premieres, a new episode of Stargirl premieres. So you have something to look forward to, that you can talk to me in the chat, talk to me about the previous episode, and talk to me about your theories going into the next episode. I've seen a couple of you guys in the chat. I really do appreciate the people that have been joining my live streams. I love it. I would love if we can get some more conversation, some more conversations popping up in the chat, so I can really just talk to you guys, because that's why I'm doing it, to talk to you guys about what you guys are excited to see in the next previous episode, but also talk to you guys about the last previous episode, talk to you guys about what you guys expect to see in the season. It's just something fun that we can be doing. It's kind of like how, the Stargirl cast, go on Instagram Live every Wednesday, every member of the cast go on, take over the Stargirl, Instagram. So that's why I'm kind of doing this, kind of trying to like just kind of do something like that, but talk to you guys about what you guys are excited to see, like fan, you know what I mean, of the show. But yeah, guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday for episode 4 of Stargirl. Peace.